Good morning, everyone. Get this all situated before we get started. So I've decided I got everything to work just fine this morning with YouTube, and then I hit go live, and then it was loading for like 5 minutes, and it would not let me connect. So we'll be doing this as Zoom meetings from now on. I think it'll be more personal to be able to do face-to-face anyway, and have it be more of a workshop instead of just a chat room. So we'll be doing this through Zoom meetings from now on because YouTube is just funky. So I hope you guys are having a good day so far. Happy Friday. It's very, very weird and cold where I am right now. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I'm hoping that it warms up a little bit this weekend, but I did read that it is supposed to rain tomorrow. So got that going for us at least. But if you guys got your coffee or your tea or a notebook, even if you feel like taking notes, I've got quite a bit to talk about today. So get nice and comfortable. I'm in this room today because it's too cold outside for me to just hang out there for a little while. And I've got my little helper is here with us today as well. He really wanted to be in here with me today. So he'll be hanging out. And if he barks, he's just participating. Always participating. So if you guys are ready to get started, we can go ahead and get started. I woke up way too early this morning and I had my coffee really, really early. So I got a nice lemon ginger tea, making me feel nice and rejuvenated and warm right now. You okay, buddy? Okay. You ready to get started? Okay, he's ready to get started. So today we are talking about success and how to acknowledge and recognize success in your life. So the first question I'm going to ask you this morning is, what comes to mind when you think of success? And I'm just going to give you a second to brainstorm, figure out. It might come right to you, like immediately. What comes to mind when you think of success? And everybody's answer might be different, or it might be exactly the same. So when you first think of success, did you think of money? Did you think of a big house, fancy cars, lots of clothes? Everything that society deems as signs of success? If you did, that's totally normal, because that is honestly what has been projected to us for our entire life. We acknowledge success based off how many things you have and how nice they are, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And for the longest time, I thought the same thing. The bigger the better. That keeping up with the Joneses mentality, right? Has to be the nicest thing on the block. It's got to be the fanciest. It's got to be the biggest. It's got to be the flashiest. Then people will know that I'm doing well, right? So let's flip the script a little bit and say, what if I told you that the terms happiness and success could be used to describe the exact same things? When we think of success, we think of material things, naturally, right? But why don't we tie the feelings of success to actual emotions? When you think of the most successful people, right? We think of how many things they have, how fancy they are. But we don't think about maybe how they feel when they wake up in the morning, or what they think about when they're going to bed, if they can even sleep. We don't think of how happy they are. We don't think of how content they are with their lives. We just look at their fancy stuff and say they're doing great. They've got great lives. They can't complain. So, as human beings, we are incredibly hard on ourselves. Nothing is ever enough. Comes back to that keeping with the Joneses. Which there's this really beautiful shift happening in the world right now with the minimalist lifestyle, which I think is beautiful, and the slow down lifestyle where you are taking in the moment, not living this fast boom 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 life, which we've talked about quite a bit the last 2 weeks in our practices of learning to slow down, not constantly having to rush and feel the pressure of completing this practice as fast as we can, getting into the pose as fast as we can, right? Being able to change the mindset of I'm allowed to enjoy this moment is a big deal. But it's how we are wired from such a young age is to go to the next thing constantly. There's those, life accomplishing goals, right? You graduate high school, you get into college, you graduate college, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house, you these like levels of achievement. But nobody ever cares about how you are actually doing mentally. So we're going to try and shift that a little bit today to where you feel a different definition of success. We're going to talk about some ways to show you how you can find and see success in your daily life. And if you're having a hard time with that, there's also things you can implement. Baby step it. Success is something that's really important to me. And about a year ago, I started taking on the participation of actively incorporating affirmations in my daily practice. So one of them we talked about last week, which was the I am worthy. You are worthy. This week's was the first one I did, which was I am successful, which sounds very weird. But at 4:00 on the dot every single day, I stop everything. And for an entire minute, I say out loud, I am successful. And it triggers all these beautiful things. It sounds ridiculous. I'm not saying you have to do that. But it has helped me so much with one, starting my own business and acknowledging that even just the effort of trying makes me successful, makes you successful. So there's all that. I've got 6 things I want to talk about today on how to incorporate and acknowledge success in your life. And the first one, of course, is going to be, you got to confront it first, failure. So I cannot even express the amount of times that I have felt and accomplished the act of failing at something. And I will admit that each time I had failed at something for majority of my life, instead of being like, okay, here's this lesson, right? Instead of having that mindset of, okay, this is okay, I would just drop everything and be like, I didn't do well at it. I'm not going to do that again. And there's probably still things in my life that I'm still like that about, just naturally as a habit. But being able to acknowledge those failures as a part of the journey, making them a life lesson and an actual point of being tested. Failure is important. Failure is how you grow. It's how you adapt. It's how you learn from your mistakes. And failure can be a scope over so many topics, right? So we can have our personal failures, a failure at goals, a failure at relationships, a failure financially, a failure at our academics. There's so many places, and we learn and we're told that we are failures from such a young age when we're in school. That's where that's embedded in our minds. You have a pass or a fail. Those are your grades. And it's hurtful. And so when you're in school, there's no real you know, there's no real path around that other than try harder, right? Sometimes we just can't. Sometimes that's our scope, and then we think we are failures. And then other people think we're failures too. So, but it's important. It's a life lesson. It's something that you can learn from. Now, and I will admit, even in this career path that I'm on now, there are times where I'm incredibly hard on myself about it for no reason at all. But I have to sit down and acknowledge that I'm trying. And that's all I can do. You're not a failure if you're trying. So, failure is important. Acknowledge it, take it as a lesson. Don't be hurt by it. Use it as a test to say, do I really want to do this? Is this something that I truly want as my path? And if I do, maybe I don't go that approach. Maybe I try this approach instead. Before I opened this Patreon page, I was working for a completely separate platform. And I felt like a complete failure about it. You can even use the issues I'm having with YouTube right now, going live on YouTube to stream on my Patreon page. You can view that as a failure. What do? Create a plan B. Try something else. Well, guess what? I know that Zoom is reliable. It also gives me more access to see you all and meet you and connect. Always have that backup plan in case something goes wrong. You learn from that, find something new. Failure is not always a bad thing. So that's one big step into learning your success and acknowledging your successes. Because your backup plan might be way better than your original plan. So, our second thing that we're going to talk about is celebrating the little things. This can be as ridiculous and extravagant as you want it to be. Okay? And this is something, again, that comes back to slowing down. Celebrating the little things is something we just don't do as a society because we have those life goals, right? We have all those other things that we have to accomplish that we don't soak in the moment. We don't acknowledge and celebrate how much work we're doing. Do those little tiny things, even if it's just like, I don't know, you can make it as extreme as, I got gas today, I didn't forget. I went and got groceries today. I'm gonna have a bomb dinner tonight. You know, celebrating those little tiny details is so important to soak into it. If you're in school right now, I passed that class. That's huge. Every class you pass is a huge accomplishment. So celebrate the little things. Celebrate every little bit of good news that you get. And I'm not saying throw a big party. I'm saying take a moment personally to acknowledge, I did this. I accomplished this. I am making this happen, right? Even if you just want to claim it as, I am making dinner tonight. It is going to taste so good. I am so excited about this. Make it as crazy as you want it to be. It's exciting. Celebrating little things is so exciting. We celebrate a lot in this house. Every little thing is an excuse to celebrate. And it is one of the probably healthiest habits that has come into my life over the last couple of years, is acknowledging those little things. Make a big deal out of it. It's important. It's so good for your mental health to acknowledge everything that you're doing in your life. You don't have to tell the world if you don't want to, but you need to at least tell yourself. So, the third thing is one that I say in every class without fail because it is so crucial to acknowledging what you've got going on. And you'll see if you look up anything of like, what's the key to success? What are the most successful people in the world? What do they do to keep their success? Their routine is really important. Most of them meditate, practice some kind of mindfulness activity. But the main thing is them making the time to make themselves a priority. Now, I will acknowledge this for you in every class that we do together. That's how I love ending the class. Give yourself a big hug. Thank your body, thank your mind for showing up today and making yourself, your mental and your physical health a priority. We talked a little bit last week in our discussion on Saturday about the importance of at least giving yourself a minute, creating those habits to give yourself the time to step away and just breathe, clear your mind, move your body. We spend so much time caring for other people that we put ourselves on the back burner and say we don't have time. And then we get, anxiety, depression. We get in a funk, right? Because we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not making ourselves that priority. So I encourage you all to set that time aside. It doesn't have to be an hour. If your schedule is crazy, set aside 5 minutes. If you don't have 5 minutes, set aside 2 minutes. Set aside 1 minute to go to a separate space and just take it in. That 1 minute of breathing, we talked last week, 3 breaths, that's all it takes to ground you down. Give yourself the space to make time for you. And then you'll start to acknowledge that once you start taking care of yourself, that will transfer over. It will begin to, you're filling your cup and it will spill over and you'll be able to care for others so much more. And it will show. It'll completely change who you are. And oftentimes, I'm not going to lie to you, when you start to make yourself a priority, other people don't understand. So this is going to tie into setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is something I love talking about. When I was going live on Instagram, it's what we talked about every week, was different ways to set boundaries in your life and actually stick to them. Setting boundaries is not only making yourself a priority, but it is setting rules of how you want to be treated. It's literally making yourself a priority. That's the only way to really say it. They kind of go together. Why would you keep around people that are constantly putting down and bringing up your failures? And, making your tiny celebrations seem, stupid. Why would you want those people around? To make you feel ridiculous. Setting those boundaries is going to be the first step into you acknowledging your success in your life. And it's hard. That's probably one of the harder things to do on here. Accepting failure, yeah, that's hard. Setting boundaries is harder because it's with other people and with yourself. But with other people, it's weeding out who's going to help you, who's going to lift you up when you need it, instead of who's going to keep bringing up all of my failures to keep me in my place. I want to be up here. They're keeping me down here. Why am I allowing that? They're stumping my personal success, right? We don't need that. You don't need that. Nobody needs that. So set boundaries in your life. Figure out what is keeping you where you are. And our next thing is to find your passion. Now, not everybody has the luxury of, quitting their job and starting from scratch with nothing and saying, I'm living my passion. This is what I'm going to do. Not everybody has that luxury. I am very fortunate in my situation to where I was able to do that last year. Everything lined up nicely for me to start living my passion, right? Not everybody has that. And not everybody wants that. It's kind of like the saying of, don't work at your favorite restaurant, because then you meet the owners, you learn the behind the scenes, and then you never want to eat there again. That can happen. But if that happens, is that truly your passion? Those are things to think about. Finding your passion is just making time for things that make you the happiest. Even if it's like an hour on a Saturday. Say you love knitting, you love pottery, you love gardening. Those things are your passion. But you don't need to make a financial benefit off of it, right? A lot of times we say, oh, that's impossible. I love doing that. I'm passionate about that. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I've always wanted to be able to do that. What is stopping you from doing that? Why aren't you doing that? And a lot of the things that we come up with when we think of why we're not doing something are excuses. Go start your little garden so you don't have a backyard. Okay. Do you have a patio? No? Do you have shelves in your house? There's always a way for you to make the space for what you love to do. And then you'll start to feel that little bit of success, that little spark of happiness. The last thing that we're going to talk about is living your truth. Now, the path, I'll say from my own personal experience, I can say confidently in my life that I'm living my truth. It took 29 years to get here, but there's a lot of baggage to undo, right? There's a lot of unhealthy habits, unhealthy relationships. There's a lot of things to dig into before you can truly start living your truth. And if there's not, awesome. Why aren't you doing it? Do it now. But there's a lot of emotions to confront before you genuinely start living your truth. And that can be really difficult. But once you get past that, it's a lot of some people call it like shadow work. It's a lot of digging. This is who I want to be. What is keeping me from being what I want to be? And I will admit, when I started on this virtual journey last year, there were a lot of people calling me a fraud. There were a lot of people, calling me a fake or a failure or all these other things, because they didn't understand that this is my truth. They knew me in a past life where I was struggling to find my truth. That's where boundaries come in. Do you want those people in your life that are calling you a failure, bringing up your failures, making you feel bad about celebrating the little things, or making fun of you for your passion? If people can see the things that make you genuinely happy and who you are in your surrounding, in your space, in your happy place, if they see that genuine happiness, and then they can go, but that's not you. That's just the fake you. You don't need those people in your life. You want the people that see that spark and they go, oh my gosh, this is what I always want to see. I crave this. You look so happy. You've never looked better. That's you living your truth. And when you can say it confidently that you are doing that, every comment that happens, every little jab from other people, it doesn't hurt as much. You just call those people haters and move on, because it's not that big of a deal. If you let it affect you, that's you not honoring your personal boundaries. So those are 6 ways to start finding some success in your life. Use your failures as a lesson. Celebrate those little things, every little thing. Make yourself a priority. Find your passion, live your truth, set boundaries, and actually make it happen. Actually stick to them. It's so easy to talk up this big game and not actually go through with it. Start appreciating yourself a little bit more. Stop limiting to the successes of life to material objects. We have to stop doing that because it is not accurate. It's not. You are successful because you had breakfast this morning, because you're here, because you have a roof over your head, because you have clothes to wear, you have a toothbrush and toothpaste in the morning, you have a blanket and a pillow and something to sleep on. You are successful because you are here, you are present, you are making the time and the space to make yourself a priority. So shift that mindset. Start appreciating yourself a little bit more. Be your own hype man. It's just, that's all it is. Hype yourself up. Are you excited too? He's excited too. He said he'll be your hype man. Be your own hype man. Hype woman. Hype yourself up. Realize what you have and how much potential you have to be and feel successful and happy in your life. And don't tie it to just money and cars and fancy clothes. Changing that mindset will change your life. I promise you. That's it. That's my little workshop on how to acknowledge and truly recognize success in your life. Go through those little steps. Maybe make a list. Write down those 6 things. Or designate a time where once a day you say, I am successful. Here's why. That's all you can do. If you want to implement my method of spending 1 minute a day telling myself I'm successful, go for it. I'll share that with you. But you are successful. You are a priority. You are loved and you are celebrated. That's it. Thank you all for joining me again today. I truly love our coffee discussions. And if there's any one topic that you may be struggling with right now, let me know. You can send me a private message on anything, or you can leave it in the comments below and touch base on it next week. But I hope you all have a beautiful day, a beautiful weekend. If it's cold where you are, I hope it warms up a little bit. And I will see you all on Friday.